I have always been here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, geeks, nerds, and bastards everywhere, and welcome to the Ambassadorial Wing. And glad you all are here tonight. Thank you, Zach. Appreciate it. And hope you all are having a great Saturday night and back with another Ambassadorial editorial. And we're just going to change things up a little bit this week. It has been a very long time since I have done a discussion on Star Wars, and it being one of by far my all-time favorite topics. Just saying. I thought I'd go live tonight and spend a little time talking Star Wars, talk about Star Wars Visions, the new anthology series that we got from Lucasfilm and Disney this earlier this week, and give you all my thoughts now that I've had an opportunity to watch the entire series all the way through. The things I liked about it, the things that I wasn't the biggest fan about it, and just have a nice talk tonight and everything about one of the oldest fandoms out there, and that is, of course, Star Wars. And for everyone that is popping into the chat, if you want to join, as I said, if you want to become one with the Force and join the panel, the link is in the link is in the chat. So by all means, use it. But make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you share this out with all of your fellow Star Wars fans. Tell them that tonight the Force is with the Ambassador. And with me tonight, I have got a good friend, a fellow Star Wars geek. I would say he would qualify himself as such, and a favorite guest of the Ambassadorial Wing. You know him, you love him, the one and only Mr. Zach Leary. Zach, good evening, bud.
Hey, good to be back. Good to see you.
Yeah, it's been a while, and glad you are back. So, yeah, as I said, tonight we're gonna spend some time talking Star Wars, and both the just in general discussion, but also we're going to spend some time talking about Star Wars Visions. So I have done my thing. I open the floor, Zach. Let's begin.
It's a weird one for me. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I can get into in Star Wars Visions. There's a lot of interesting concepts, cool locations. You mentioned backstage, a lot of cool animation in the show. But
Yes, very much so.
I would say for everything awesome about it, you have an equal amount of things I'm not so sure about. We can get into the cool stuff first. That's probably a good way to do it. Is there's a couple of characters that really stand out to me. One being the Elder was a badass, super cool character.
That was a good. That was a very. I thought that honestly was that also was one of my favorite episodes in this first season of Visions. Yeah, the whole. Now I based on the ship design and the cost and the character design, I would peg this right around post Jedi Sith, um, the last big war between the Jedi and the Sith, right after Darth Bane forms the Rule of Two principle or group within the for the Sith. That would be my guess, considering some of the dialogue that the two Jedi that we are introduced to in this short. That's my guess, but yeah, definitely the Elder. It was a really good one. Not to mention the design for the Elder himself, creepy
cool
as hell.
He was. Yeah, he was. And the Jedi Master in that episode and the Padawan, those were good characters. I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I don't know the episodes by name, but I can just tell you certain things I've liked, and I've seen 9 episodes. I'm not sure how many there are,
There's
but
just
I've
9.
seen.
This
Oh,
this
okay,
first this first season was just 9. And I would probably say, considering the response from both the general audience and from the fans, we'll probably be getting a season 2 down the road. I mean,
I agree.
obviously these things take time to make, and considering the varying art styles and using both hand drawn elements and also CGI, it will take time for them to craft the next batch of visions. But honestly, I I was very overall pleased with what we got here. And I will say this, as a I will qualify myself as this, a hardcore Star Wars fan. I was very happy with this. I am
Hmm.
happy with getting non-canon stories. For me, not everything has to be canon. It doesn't have to be linked directly to the main saga films or even to any of the other stuff we've gotten. Um, I know I talked about the first 3 episodes, but I kind of want to go full context here, because the episode that you mentioned, it was simply called The Elder. The titles for most of these episodes were fairly simplistic. Um, and they kind of told the story that was going to be that was fleshed out in these anthology shorts. So, but
Well,
Zach, let me ask you,
yeah.
how did you feel about first the first episode? I'm trying to remember the name of
Um,
it.
it, I think it's called The Duel. First episode.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It was simply called The Duel. Yeah, I'm pretty sure
Hmm.
you're right. So,
It
what'd you
was
think of
interesting.
it?
Um, I would say positive reaction to The Duel.
Hmm.
There's a few things that just are not my thing. The umbrella lightsaber for the Sith Lord, not really my style, but it looked kind of cool, I guess. But and I first thought it was Ventress. I mean, when I saw her, I was like, oh shit, oh shit, is it
Hmm.
Ventress? But
Yeah.
no. Um, but yeah, overall a good episode, good fight. I like the fact that we're seeing people getting killed and impaled and arms cut off, and
Yes,
that's good to see again. We haven't seen that really since episode 3.
that is true. Yeah. Well, now here's the interesting thing. They kind of gave these different anime studios free reign to do the stories that they wanted to do, and they were like, "Go play." And these studios did exactly that. They went and played. And I will say this, I liked the design or the animation style for the duel. As I described it the other day, it reminds me of a charcoal drawing, but set in motion.
Yeah, done better,
Yeah.
done well.
Yeah. And I do want to send a shout out to the chat. Keely Chow and Lewis Cox. Fellas, good to see you as always, and thank you for being here. Um, I mentioned this also the other day. I have the animated anthology of Halo Legends, and there was a
So do I.
particular oh, do
So
you?
do
Okay.
I. Very
Oh,
cool.
excellent.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Um, well, you probably get this reference. There's a short in there that deals with the elites from the Halo universe,
Hmm.
and it looks like a watercolor animated.
Are you talking about the one that has the prophet in it? Is that the one you're thinking of?
P there is a prophet in it. Yes, there's one of the prophets
Mhm.
from the covenant in there. It's essentially right as the elites are uh being inducted into the covenant proper, um officially.
And they're kind
And
of in a
there
field, right? They're in a field and they're battling and stuff like that.
well, there's one lone elite that goes up against, and he's like a master swordsman, and he
Oh, he
goes
goes
up
up
like
against a brood, right?
well, he goes up against an entire like legion of covenant. He goes up against grunts. He goes up against Um, he goes up against like the jackals, the brute. I don't think there are any brutes in this. But
Maybe I'm thinking
there.
maybe I'm getting them mixed up because there's an episode. Maybe it was a Spartan that goes up against a brute in
Yes,
one of them.
there is a Spartan. There's a group of Spartans that go up against there's a Spartan that goes in that's inserted with a group of ODST hail
Yep,
jumpers,
yep, yep.
and the Spartan turns out to be a woman, and she takes out a brute essentially. So, but yeah, that's a different episode. The one I'm thinking of is
Hey,
where
if you ever do Halo, I'm there, man. I love Halo.
well,
Love it.
yeah, I might do that somewhere down the road because there have been some really good um animated films and live action films that they have done within the Halo universe. I really enjoyed. One of them in particular, obviously, is the anthology Halo Legends. But kind of getting back over to Star Wars, the other thing I will say is that particular episode, the duel, had a very interesting twist because the main character, Master Ronan, wields a red bladed lightsaber. And you would have assumed the way he behaved that he was a Jedi, not a Sith. But I think what they were trying to do with that episode was, and it might be a fairly simplistic message, but I think it's a very powerful one. So, okay, Star Wars Clone Wars Adventures comic. Okay, I'll pull that up in just a minute, Zach.
Okay, he's a cool character. Ronan was a cool character for sure.
I did. I think the basic gist of it was never judge a book by its cover, and essentially do not judge a force wielder by the color of their lightsaber. Just because he used a red bladed lightsaber doesn't inherently mean that he is a Sith or a dark sider by any stretch. So I'll pull
Well,
up
he
your
doesn't really
thing here.
definitively say what he is. I mean, she says
Yeah.
at first, "Are you a Jedi?" And he kind of gives some weird answer, like, "No, I'm not a Jedi," but he doesn't say I'm a Sith, right? We don't really know what he is.
No, and he could be very well somewhere in between. He may not necessarily. Well, and remember, he does give one of the red kyber crystal to the village chieftain's son. It says,
Yep.
"Here, this will ward off evil." So,
well, it's very possible he forged that lightsaber and found that. He either found the lightsaber in its entirety, or found a crystal, or found pieces, or some, from the past.
Here's the interesting thing. If you notice on the inside of his cloak, he has several of those red kyber crystals. He doesn't have just one. So that's probably that's kind of him keeping count of how many Sith or Darksiders he's defeated in combat. And I have to admit,
Is that what it is?
That would be my guess. Yeah, kind of like
this was a thought I had, and I like yours better, but I thought perhaps he had went to like a Sith burial site.
No, I don't. Well, here's the other interesting thing. A lot of your ancient Sith did not use lightsabers. Your ancient Sith, a lot of them use these very intricately designed crystalline swords. So, and I'll bring up. Let's see. I'll bring up Josh's comment here. And not every Sith was into slaughtering someone. Some were passive. That is true. And also bring up Lewis's comment here. He could be Dark Jedi or even a Light Sith, possibly. There is no really such a thing as a Light Sith. Lewis, it just doesn't. And as much as I like the concept, there is.
Dooku could be a Light Sith, I would say.
he wasn't full on Sith, but he was definitely dark side. He wasn't
Mhm.
necessarily. Um, he wasn't full. He wasn't. He was no longer a Jedi. He had renounced his Jedi oath because he believed that the Jedi no longer stood for what they were originally intended to stand for. And I'll bring up Mark Krellin. Hey, Mar, it's good to see you, bud. Ronan stands for without a master. His droid uses Mandalorian tech, so he could just be a force wielding bounty hunter. That's entirely a possibility too, Mar. I did not consider that. So very. Let's see, and I'll also bring up Mars. Mars as a comment. Also, it had not really much to do with Star Wars history than more Japanese history played into the Star Wars universe. Yeah, Mar, that is very true as well. Um, Ronin is the term for a masterless samurai, which is also the title of one of my all-time favorite movies from the '90s, Ronin, with Robert De Niro and oh, uh, dang nabbit, I'm trying to think of his name, Jacques Reno. That I think is the name of the actor. But the thing I liked about these different episodes was the fact that they were very much heavily influenced by Japanese culture, and I thought it was a very interesting melding of these two different philosophies in American speaking. Because if you think about it, George Lucas has for a very long time identified as a Buddhist, and that is one
Mhm.
of the more Eastern um, philosophies. So for each of these studios to incorporate a little bit of Japanese culture into the shorts, I think was very appropriate. Now, I know for some people, there are particular episodes of season one of Visions that they didn't particularly care for. And I will say there were a couple that I wasn't the biggest fan of. And the design aesthetic, while the design aesthetic was cool, the voice acting and the stories themselves were a little odd. The two that kind of threw me off were honestly episodes 2, Tatooine Rhapsody, and episode 9. Um,
2 was a
uh,
problem. Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
I watched it, but I'll probably only watch it once because it just didn't. I didn't particularly care for it. I don't hate it. It just the story itself wasn't all that compelling to me. And episode 9, the last installment, was just it was very out there. I mean, again, the animation itself was very cool to look at, but I just didn't care for the story all that much. That for me was the
well,
issue.
when you have a guy singing like that, it's just
Mm.
weird. It's just
Ye-
weird. It didn't really fit together. It was just bizarre. Um, the art style in that particular episode is not my cup of tea either.
Yeah.
Um, it just it was there was a disconnect there for me.
Yeah.
And it was like that with a couple of episodes. I mean, here's an interesting point.
Hmm.
And you brought up the fact that this is a non-canon series. They
Yes.
really take liberties with this series. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I mean, the
Yeah.
fact that what's the name of the Jedi Master who was in the robot? Um,
Margrave Juro.
okay, when he picks up a red lightsaber, he turns it into a green lightsaber.
Hmm. Well, the thing that they establish in this episode is that the kyber crystals within each saber will attune themselves to the person that is holding it. Now, that's not terribly dissimilar from how actual kyber crystals, well, no, I don't want to say actual, but how kyber crystals function in the proper Star Wars universe. And it's something that I've incorporated into my own story. And it's also something that has been introduced and incorporated into other. media within the Star Wars universe, particularly with Jedi Fallen Order, where the main character, his saber or his master's saber gets destroyed, and he goes to Ilum to retrieve another kyber crystal. And what they've done here is they have introduced the idea that, and the sabersmith, the father of the young girl who delivers the sabers to the orbiting temple, he explains that as the connection between the saber and its owner grows, or the character's connection to the Force grows, the saber's color will attune to that person. And what you see in this episode is you see Kara, that's the daughter, the young girl. You see her start out very opaque. It has no color, and it's not particularly very long. But as she starts to attune more to the Force, the blade starts to introduce color into it. And when she finally goes into full battle, it's this very vibrant green colored blade. What happens when Margrave Juro picks up one of the other sabers, it switches from a red colored blade when it was in the hands of one of the Darksiders or one of the Sith to how he is attuned to the Force.
It doesn't work for me. Yeah, but when he picks it up, like that, changes colors. And I'm familiar with the concept of bleeding a kyber crystal if you're a Darksider. There's certain things like that. You mentioned smithing and saber creation, but for it to, like that, in 2 seconds change color, to me is kind of strange. It's almost like it reminds me of Harry Potter. Okay.
Where and I get that.
You disarm your opponent and the wand becomes yours. Right. That's how it seems.
But it's not the same principle. It's by no means the same principle at all. The blade, the kyber crystal within the saber itself attunes itself to the person who wields the saber. It was in the hands of a Darksider or a Sith, and more often than not, the Sith blades were red. When it goes into the hands of a Jedi, it's going to shift to a different color. And considering Juro is a Jedi Master and his connection to the Force is as strong as it is, the crystal is going to behave the way that it's been described as it's going to behave. Now, if you notice and everything, there was another character who actually ends up joining the main group of heroes, that he was actually there with the other Sith to take down Juro. And as the other Sith are eliminated or run off, the color of his blade shifts from red to purple. So I can understand where you're coming from. I'm just trying to give you as much context as I can as to what they're establishing within this particular episode, The Ninth Jedi.
Within the episode itself.
Yes, yeah. The thing you have to remember, Zach, these are non-canon stories. They are not tied to Disney canon or Lucasfilm canon, or, well, Disney Star Wars or proper Star Wars. Either way, they exist within their own isolated universe, and none of these stories are necessarily connected to one another to any extreme. They're their own isolated little story.
Well, it doesn't make it not bother me a little bit, right?
And that's fine.
Another example of that is we've got the Twins episode. Is it just called The Twins? Is that
the Twins? Yeah,
The Twins.
Yeah, that was episode. I want to say that was episode 3. Yeah.
In that episode, we see both of them breathing in space without a mask, with nothing going on. It's to me, it's like, what in the hell? And he blows up the Star Destroyer with his lightsaber, turns it into a fucking Death Star, right?
Well, essentially, what the Empire has created is a pair of Gemini. What they call it is it's the Gemini class of Star Destroyers that has a hyper cannon, which is essentially a miniaturized Death Star laser that can destroy a planet. They've been able to miniaturize Death Star tech down into what they call the hyper cannon,
And
and
in what thing?
they've been able to miniaturize the Death Star super laser down to the size of the cannon that we see that is linked by the two Star Destroyers.
Yeah, no, that's not what I'm talking about. He takes his lightsaber and jumps on his X-wing and flies underneath the ship, and his lightsaber emits a beam that destroys the ship. When he
Oh,
puts when he puts the piece of that crystal into his own lightsaber, turns it into a Death Star gun.
that's not the way I interpreted it, but essentially it was a very strongly a very powerful lightsaber blade essentially that had the capacity to destroy a ship. Now obviously in regular Star Wars tech that is not by any means a possibility. Can a lightsaber probably cut a hole in a um the hull of a Star Destroyer? Probably, yes, because
Yep.
we've seen them do all sorts of things like that. But for it to actually single-handedly destroy a ship in the way that is depicted in this, no. The thing you have to realize, Zach, is it's going to seem very unorthodox to those of us who are well versed in how the Star Wars universe functions. What they've done is they've introduced the anime aesthetic, and they've introduced various types of the anime aesthetics into um, the Star Wars universe. So a lot of these episodes were very much over the top. They were very unrealistic to how we understand the Star Wars universe to function. So, yes, I had to suspend my disbelief and say, okay, this is anime. Obviously, they are not wearing space. They're not wearing pressurized spacesuits, and they are talking and breathing in space. This does not make any sense
Right.
to the normal part of the brain, the part of my brain that says this is not how Star Wars functions. But I have to also say to myself, this is not canon Star Wars. This is Star Wars hopped up on anime. And it is sometimes can be very overblown and very over the top. Now, I will say, despite those things, I actually really enjoyed the story that they were telling in the episode for the twins. And I would love to see them. This is another one besides the Ninth Jedi that I would love to see them do a continuation of it if there is a season 2 or 3 of Visions. So, but that's my perspective on it. Zach? Oh,
No,
okay.
I hear you. No, I hear you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Well, I said my piece, so floor's yours.
Yeah, it's just weird for me. I mean, it's yeah, I don't know. There's certain things that are kind of bizarre that they've done and certain choices, but the bottom line, I would rather have it than not have it, which is definitely a positive review of it. And there's things I like about it, but that's another one of those things where you could have done the exact same story, but have it not interfere with things. I mean, I guess a good way to look at a show like this is that, and perhaps what they should have done is done like a Twilight Zone narrator type of thing, where it's like an old man telling stories to kids around a campfire, right? If they're all what did pirates call this? What are those stories called? Something stories.
Ghost stories?
Um, Wise tales, right? If there was an old man sitting with a beard sitting around a campfire telling the stories and introducing them, that could have been an interesting thing to add to it. And
Well, there were. Well, now here's the interesting thing: in certain episodes of Visions, they did have an open narration and a closing narration for certain episodes, like with the Ninth Jedi. They had one of those. They also had one for the twins as well. And just real quick to the chat, Nicotina, good to see you, bud, and thank you for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. Um, I understand where you're coming from, Zach, because you aren't you admitted yourself you're not really well versed in anime. It's not something that you're terribly familiar with. I would say that this is a kind of a good um, jumping off point for someone like yourself who isn't really into anime but might be interested in getting into it or maybe exploring it further. I'm actually going to be, I think it's probably going to be next week. I'm going to be doing a retro review for like one of the very earliest um, imports from Japan and everything of Japanese anime, and that is the animated film Akira. And okay, and Zach, you can say that out loud. You don't have to put it in private. You're not going to hurt my feelings. So, but you know, the thing with anime is it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea. It's just it's one of those genres of media that either you are a hardcore fan or you're simply not. And I'm not going to say that there is a wrong answer or wrong position on this. A lot of these episodes are very out there. Like I said, there are certain ones that just didn't really jive with me.
the bunny rabbit girl one was another one.
Now that one actually, I get where I go ahead and give me your how you felt about that episode.
Well, it just was a bunch of nothing for me. I mean, so what happens? So she's like a captive, right? And she gets freed and taken under the wing of that one guy. It just for me, it was like just not for me, right? I mean, even the character was not as you know unwatchable as I expected, right? So it's not like it's a total nightmare, but I couldn't get into that particular episode.
I think that one was called Lop and Ocho.
Yeah,
That's the episode you're
yeah.
talking about. I personally, that one, this is another point where we're going to have different takes.
That's no problem.
Yeah, I know. No offense taken. The thing for me with that particular episode, it's dealing with with a character that is very much outcast. She is the outsider in this culture, in this society, on this world. She was taken from her home world by the Empire to be slave labor, and she was freed by this family who took her in and accepted her as their own. And she's become a part of that family, and now she sees the family that she loves being torn apart by the father and the daughter's varying perspectives on the Empire's influence on their planet. And I honestly did not have a big problem with the character of Lop. I actually liked her quite a bit. And it's for me, I know the animation style can be a little bit jarring. I will freely admit that. But if you're able to get past the animation and try to see the story that they're telling, the story is actually, I think, very good. But again, that's my 2 cents on it. I'll bring up Mars comment here real quick. Liz Cock, it's more than that. I still think it's hilarious. Disney showed it, but I also can see that a lot of people don't see the message. As Disney also didn't see it. Okay. I think I gotta get what you're saying, Mar. Now, I myself, I watched it with regular English. Yeah, it's okay. I get the gist of what he's saying. So, but I will say this. I hope that they do continue this series. I think this is a refreshing piece of media that has been introduced into the Star Wars universe, and if they continue to let these studios and these anime creators just have free reign, you're not going to have a hit every single time out of the park. There are just going to be some things that don't jive with people, like yourself, Zach. But for someone like myself, I honestly, while I didn't jive with every single episode that was in this first season, there was a lot more in it that I enjoyed than that I had issue with. I mean, I'll tell you this much. By the time the episode Ninth Jedi wrapped up, I was getting some very heavy feels. I will not lie to you all. I really dug the story that they were telling. The thing for me was the animation was, I think, gorgeous. And I will say this for these anime studios, they take their craft very seriously and they pour their heart and their passion into it, and I honestly wholeheartedly approve of what they've done. Just from simply the appreciation of the art itself, it's beautiful. The stories themselves, they could have, to some degrees, they could have been better. But again, to quote one of my all-time favorite movies, it's like your buffet. You take what you want and leave the rest.
Well,
So,
it was a positive thing, I think, that the episodes were around 15 minutes each. That made it, pretty easy to watch it and easy to consume. And, yeah, I mean, I agree with you for the most part, but there's certain things, when they submit certain episodes, there should be somebody at the studio who says, yeah, I don't think so. Right. Giving them free reign is fine. Like I would give them free reign to submit stories. Right. But when you submit certain things, some of the episodes we mentioned that we didn't like, I would send it back to them and say, do something else.
And I can understand that. I can. But then, there are going to be people out there, like people in the chat, who did enjoy some of the episodes that you and I didn't particularly care for. And I would much rather let them have their time. If they were to ever release these on Blu-ray or whatever, I'll definitely go out and pick up a copy, because just as as someone who appreciates animation in all of its various forms, whether it's more westernized or whether it's Japanese anime or anything from over in Europe, I love anime of all types, or animation of all types. And I can sit back with the sound off and not worry about the subtitles, and I can just watch the visuals. And I guess maybe I just have a little more of a, I don't have a drop of artistic ability in my entire body except for the literary form. But
which is a big deal.
yeah, but I can appreciate the time and effort that goes into hand drawing or rendering these images in a computer and putting these stories together. I mean, honestly, like I said, Ninth Jedi was so visually stunning for me. I was no hyperbole whatsoever. I was on I was near tears because the story and the animation was so absolutely riveting. And you mentioned that these episodes aren't terribly long. I think the longest one was around 20 minutes. And I think it was actually Ninth Jedi was around 20 minutes in total. And I would have been okay if it had gone a little bit longer, but I was happy with the 20-minute episode that we got. Let's see here. Yeah, hang on 1 minute sec. Okay, yeah. Uh-huh. Hold on 1 second. Let me share this. Yeah, that's the ship design from the episode called The Twins. Hold on.
Well, we can go with that one. Can you do the other link first?
I didn't. Okay, hang on. Oh, are you talking about the one up here at the very top? The first one you sent me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, hang on. 1 second. Yeah, these are the covers for the Star Wars Clone Wars comic books that they put out. These are based on the Genie Tarkovsky animated shorts that they did back around 2002, 2003 ish.
Mm-hmm.
So,
have you read these comics, by the way? Are you familiar with these?
I never read them, but I did watch the Tarkovsky shorts when they originally aired, and they're actually on Disney Plus now. And
click on a cover because these are so beautiful. I mean, just phenomenal. And I think I've read around 5 of them, and I think there's a lot more. I think there's like 20 of them.
Oh yeah. There's a whole bunch of them.
And I love these comics. And the reason I bring it up, and I would highly recommend the chat pick them up if you can find them. Star Wars Clone Wars Adventures comics. Very cool. And there's a big similarity between these in terms of structure and Star Wars Visions. What we would have in here is it's not a giant comic. It's a trade paperback, but it's in smaller print.
Mm-hmm.
It's about the size of a novel in your hand.
Yeah.
So, but every volume contained like 3 or 4 little small stories based in Star Wars.
During the Clone Wars. Yeah.
For example, a really good one from this was you had clone commandos going out and they were getting shot at, and it looked like Iraq, and they were doing all this stuff, and they went in and defeated all these terrorists or whatever it is, and they retrieved this little box that they were sent to retrieve, and members of the squad got killed, and it was just a nightmare. And they get this box and they give it to Palpatine, and he opens it up, and it's this little trinket, and he goes into his office and puts it alongside about 100 other ones. Says, I think that's his line, something like that, dismissive, right? But which is a great one. But dude, I thought of this comic book series when I was watching Visions, for sure.
Well, like I said, if you remember the I think it's George that brought up or Lewis, actually, it was the OG 2D Clone Wars animated series or animated shorts that they did in between episodes 2 and 3 of the prequel trilogy. These are right in line with those animated shorts, and it's hard to find them anymore, but they did release them on DVD. I don't think they ever did them on Blu-ray, but if you're in the right area, you can probably pick them up for little nothing. That just depends on where you go looking for them.
I think they're expensive if you buy them on the internet.
They might be, and like I said too, they Disney Plus has them on there on the platform. I think they uploaded those around the same. I think they uploaded those, the two Ewok live action movies, and the animated section of the holiday special, all around the same time. And it's been like maybe 2 or 3 months ago that they did that. Now, I myself, I love the stories that they told with Gene Tarkovsky. He had created several different series for Cartoon Network, which is where the animated where the mini episodes originally aired. And he did like Dexter's Laboratory, and he did Cow and Chicken. He did several different series for Cartoon Network, and that's entirely up to you, Zach. So, I will bring up your other image here. So, give me just a minute. Give me one tick. So,
And by the way, folks, if you want to check out those comics, I believe you can find them on the internet for free.
oh yeah,
If you want to just take a peek
probably. Now, this is the Gemini class Star Destroyer that they had in the episode called the Twins. So, and you know what? I know it was very over the top, but I won't lie. The design for this ship, if the Empire had actually designed something like this in like proper Star Wars canon, the war there would have been the war would have been over a hell of a lot faster. And yeah, Lewis Cox, he also did Samurai Jack as well. Yeah, thank you for bringing that up. I will say this: the war would have been over a hell of a lot faster, and the rebels would not have stood a chance in hell. So, but yeah, I myself, I like the design of the suits that the twins wore. I liked the story itself. Um, I thought the two companion droids were a little. They were a slight homage to R2 and 3PO, but I liked them. They were the characters themselves didn't bother me all that much. But
well, the Duel had a R2 unit or some type of astromech droid that was wearing
it was
a Chinese hat.
Yeah, which was like, wait a minute, that's not the right culture, but you know what? We'll let it slide because it was actually a really cool episode.
But so you like this ship design, right?
Yes, I did. I
hate it.
Okay.
Right. I hate the design of that ship. It's two Star Destroyers attached in the center, right? That's really what it is. It's two Star Destroyers that have been retrofitted and attached together, right? Is that what's going on?
Well, essentially, yes. They've been linked together with that miniaturized that Star Super Laser, which is essentially what that weapon is. It is a miniaturized planet killer.
Well, I get the metaphor, which is the twins being linked, and therefore you've got the linked ships, right? Is that the metaphor, right? That's what
okay. That's the gist of the story. Yes.
I just don't like that design, to be honest with you. What they should have done is taken off those two bridges and put a bigger bridge in the center of that ship.
That could have worked too, but like I said, it doesn't bother me how they designed the ship. I still think it looks cool. And it served the purpose of the story. And by the end of it, it got blown up anyhow. So who cares?
It's just goofy looking to me,
And that's the thing about anime. Oftentimes, Zach, it's going to look goofy because we're not accustomed to seeing these outlandish designs. And whereas, and this is not meant to sound by any means racist or anything, the Japanese think in different terms artistically than we do. That's just a simple fact of the matter.
Actually, I do like anime a certain if you count these as anime, the Studio Ghibli films, I like quite a few of those.
Yes, they are. They are. They are. A lot of people would
Spirited
consider them.
Away. Spirited Away is an awesome movie.
Yeah,
Howl's Moving Castle is pretty good.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
That
I
is
like that
actually
sort of thing. That's probably about all that I really admire. But I do like those films quite a bit.
well, and those are proper anime. I mean, they are
Castle
considered.
in the Sky. Have you seen that one?
I honestly, I am familiar with Studio Ghibli, but I've never had the opportunity to really sit down and watch any of their stuff. But they do have most of those, if not all of those, on HBO
Yeah,
Max.
on
So,
HBO. Yeah.
so, I mean, like I said, I've watched smatterings of anime throughout my, well, like I said, from high school on, when I got really introduced to it, and that was when I did get introduced to it, was in high school. And you know, again, this will be something I'll go a little bit further into discussion on next week when I do my review of Akira. We as Americans are not accustomed to, or we were not accustomed to, these very interesting, or these very different design aesthetics that are used in anime. And when we got our first taste of it with, say, the original Robotech, or the Macross Saga, as it's known in some circles, and Akira, and Graveyard of the Fireflies, and things like this, we only knew animation from, say, the perspective of Disney and like Saturday morning cartoons, and that was the long and short of it. But with anime, they tell stories that are a lot more mature than, well, Bugs Bunny whacking Elmer Fudd over the head with a sledgehammer. They tell stories that are more suited for a mature audience. Now, there are certain forms of anime that are suitable for younger children, and you can find those just about anywhere and everywhere. But the majority of Japanese anime is meant for teenagers and upwards. And it's also true of another offshoot of anime, and that is, of course, the manga mini comics. And I've actually read my fair share of those as well, especially the Akira manga and the Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z mangas. I did really much, and I really enjoyed not just the art style, but also the stories that were told in all of those different mangas. So, let's check your comment here real quick. Oh, well, Zach, you could have put that in the chat. Well, and
Pretty
just
cool. I'm a big fan of
yeah,
his. You know, it's funny.
well,
Here's
we
something
all are.
interesting.
Well,
I
and
was looking at one of his tweets the other day,
mhm,
and it got 100 likes in the first 13 seconds.
doesn't surprise me.
Pretty
Well, and fun
impressive.
fact. Well, and fun fact. Today is Mark Hamill's birthday. He turned
Oh, is
70.
it? Oh,
Yep.
good.
I actually, he posted a tweet about his birthday. He posted some pictures of himself as he was growing up, and I just put a little blurb in there and said, "It's like, happy birthday, and thank you for all the wonderful memories that your abilities as an actor were able to create."
He
So,
deserves it. He deserves it.
I've always, I have said this. I don't particularly care for some of his social or political leanings, but his abilities as an actor, he gets no gripes from me, none whatsoever. So, and yes, Lewis, I did read Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. I can't tell you a single line of dialogue from them, but I did read them, and I did thoroughly enjoy them. And I did watch Dragon Ball Z when it was on Cartoon Network for Toonami. And yes, it was wild and crazy, and well, everybody gets this reference. It was over 9,000, but I loved it. I did. So,
So I got a couple friends of mine who
But
are heavy into Dragon Ball Z, trying to convince me to watch it, but uh, I've never
I
had
would. Mhm.
the privilege, right?
It is. It is very much out there. It may not be, with the ones that you mentioned from Studio Ghibli, like Howl's Moving Castle and Spirited Away. Those might be a little more grounded and a little more for someone of your sensibilities. Dragon Ball Z, it can sometimes get way over the top and very, very outlandish, but I think for myself, it will always be a favorite. Um,
Last thing I want to say about Mark Hamill, if you don't mind,
sure,
is
absolutely.
I would recommend to the chat and to you as well, Ambassador, check out the film
Mhm.
Sushi Girl with Mark Hamill and Tony Todd and a bunch of different people. It's a great ensemble cast. It's really the only role on screen where you get to see Mark Hamill play a villain as crazy as the Joker. He plays a guy named Crow in
Hmm.
that film.
Well, you said Tony Todd, so I'm already intrigued because I Tony Todd is by far one of my all-time favorite
Totally.
smaller. I don't want to say smaller, but lesser known actors.
Character actor.
Yeah, he's a character. Yeah, that'd be a good definition for him. I won't lie. I would love if they ever did another like animated series or anything, if they were able to get Tony Todd to come in for something in Star Wars or maybe for even something in Marvel. I think he'd be great at it. He's got a very distinctive voice, and I think it would fit for just about any kind of character, honestly. I mean, obviously he was in Star. He got his big break with the remake of Night of the Living Dead with Patricia
Yep.
Tallman. I
Oh, it
love
was
him
the
in that.
original.
As
Wasn't it the original he was in?
no, that was a different actor entirely. No, 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 no. This was a remake that they did back, I think, in the late '80s or early '90s, and it was colorized. But
Oh, okay.
what they did was they recast it and they beefed up the special effects, so especially the zombie effects and everything. And they were able to tell a somewhat bigger story, but I think, kind of tell the story that George Romero wanted to tell originally, but they just didn't have the budget for at the time. But yeah, I loved him in that. I liked him very much as Worf's brother in Star Trek Next Generation.
Hmm.
And he's done a lot of other little smaller roles. And I liked him as the mortician in the first Final Destination film.
Yes. Yeah.
I he only
Y'all be
had one
careful now.
he
That's one
only
of his
had one
famous lines.
he had one scene in that movie and he absolutely owned it.
But he comes
So
back in all of them, doesn't he? He's in number 5, I know for a fact.
mm,
Um,
he might have been. He might have been.
no, he
I know
is.
he
He's
was in.
definitely in 5. So I
Okay,
think I think fans have surmised that Tony Todd's character is the angel of death in those films because he keeps
that's a
popping up.
possibility.
He's
Mhm.
got a great line in the 5th one where he goes, "Y'all just be careful now." Pretty
He
creepy.
very. I will say if that fan theory is actually pans out to be correct, he is probably my second favorite actor to play the character of the Grim Reaper or Death, and the other one is the actor who portrayed the Horseman of Death in Supernatural. That actor, I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he played Death so well, it
Have,
was
have,
frightening.
have you seen American Horror Story?
I've only seen like half of the first season.
Oh, okay.
I kind of fell off of American Horror Story after that. I mean, it was okay. It was kind of interesting, but it wasn't particularly my thing.
My favorite Angel of Death in
Mm,
film is from season 2 of that series.
okay. Okay.
Anyway,
So, and I'll bring up Lewis's comment here. Tony Todd is going to be Venom in Spider-Man 2 for PS5. Interesting fact: Tony Todd is the voice of Zoom in the Flash show. Hmm.
oh,
Okay. Well, thank you, Lewis. Appreciate that.
well, he was in the new Candyman as well.
Yeah, because he was in the original.
Unfortunately, he pretty much has a cameo in the new
Does he?
one.
Does he?
Yeah, I was a little, disappointed by that. But
Mhm.
listen, man, I'll get as much. Tony Todd, man, I'll take what I can get. I like him. He's one of my. I did a tweet about him
Mhm.
saying I wish that Hollywood would cast more character actors. Ambassador, if you and I were casting directors, there
Mhm.
are so many people that would be popping up in films that seem to not really
Probably.
get a chance.
Well, I know Tony Todd is a little bit older now, or much older now than he was when he first appeared in the remake of Night of the Living Dead. But
Still working. He's still
he's
working though.
still. I will say this: if they do any other Star Wars animated series, I would definitely bring him in. I think
Mm-hmm.
he would. I think he would be good for just about anything, any type of
Anything.
character, and he would do he can do the work. I mean, like I said, he's got a very distinctive voice. I think he has one of three of the most distinctive voices of actors who do voice work. The first one obviously is Mark Hamill. I would say definitely the second is Clancy Brown, and I would say because they do voice work for animated stuff
Mm-hmm.
on a regular basis. I think Tony Todd would be a great fit for something
I
in
believe
Star
he
Wars.
played
Maybe
Darkseid. Didn't he play Darkseid? I think he did
no,
as a voice.
yeah, no, you're thinking of the actor who played the lieutenant on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Um he did the voice of Darkseid in Batman Superman Apocalypse, and that's where they introduced Supergirl.
I just
Um
looked it up. Tony Todd plays Darkseid in Justice League versus Bizarro League, and also in
huh. Okay. I
another
did
one.
not
He
know
he did it
that.
twice. He did it twice, and
Okay.
so.
That I didn't
But
know because I hadn't seen that one.
you mean Keith David? Is that who you thought I was thinking of? Keith David,
No, it wasn't Keith
Gary
David.
Anthony Williams.
I'm thinking of the actor who plays the lieutenant, um, uh, the the I don't like to categorize it this way, but it's the only way I know how. The black lieutenant from Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
I think it's you're thinking of Gary Anthony Williams. Could be
That
wrong.
might be him. That might be him. Yeah, that might be the actor. So, but he did the voice of Darkseid for that particular animated film. I wasn't aware that Todd was in those other two because I've honestly never watched them. So,
He's
uh,
badass, dude. Totally badass.
I can imagine. I mean, of course, you got the other actor, a relatively well-known actor who did the voice of Darkseid most recently, and that was, of course, Ray Porter for Zack Snyder's Justice League. I would say even Tony Todd would make a good fill-in voice for maybe if they were going to do something with Darth Vader, because
Sure.
him and James Earl Jones have got kind of a similar tone and timbre to their voice, and unfortunately, James Earl Jones is not going to be around forever. He's not getting any younger, unfortunately.
Well, not to say that I don't like Giancarlo Esposito and Mandalorian. I adore Giancarlo.
Oh, him as Moff Gideon.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
I love Giancarlo. Don't take me wrong, folks. I
oh yeah,
love
I do.
Giancarlo. I'm a Breaking
Hmm.
Bad fan. Giancarlo's awesome in whatever he does. The Boys he was in.
Hmm.
But Tony Todd would be on that list for me, the short list of who could do
I'd agree.
Gideon.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what they
He could
do
have even
with
probably done Mace Windu, dude.
as a voice role. Yeah, probably,
I just mean
definitely.
period. I love Sam Jackson, but I'm just saying he could probably have done those parts.
Well, the only issue was either he wasn't available or they just didn't think of him at the time, and they cast Samuel L. Jackson as Mace Windu. I'm not sure who did the voice of Mace Windu for the Clone Wars or anything, but it was a pretty close approximation of Samuel L. Jackson's uh, voice and everything when he performed as in live action as Mace Windu. But speaking of Mandalorian, we're going to be getting Book of Boba Fett here in a couple months, and I'm waiting with bated breath for them to release a trailer. give us something, anything. I don't care. We'll probably get something next month when Disney Plus Day pops up. They'll probably release a teaser or a full trailer at some point. Oh no, Zach, you're fine. You're fine, man.
Boba
We're
Fett is going to be badass. I like what's his name, Tamura Morrison. Is that
Tamoy
correct?
Morrison.
Yeah, I
Tamoy
think
Morrison.
he's great,
Hmm.
man. He's great, and I
Oh yeah.
loved seeing him pop up in Aquaman. He's another one of those guys who's just
Hmm.
an iconic guy, man. You see him, you're like, oh shit,
It's Django
that-
Fett,
that's right, that's
aka
right.
Old Boba Fett.
And
You
you
know.
know what, man? I love seeing character actors that I like pop up in things.
Hmm.
It's always a delight for me to see that. I just
Yes.
recently watched Eastbound and Down. I don't know if you're
Hmm.
familiar with that, but very
I've heard
funny
of it, but I've
show.
never watched it. I've
And
heard of it.
I'm sitting there. Matthew McConaughey pops up. A
Hmm.
bunch of people pop up in that show. Oh shit, Matthew McConaughey. We've got him for 5 episodes. That's awesome. I love when an actor who's awesome or actress pops up in a show for a couple episodes, or
Hmm.
you don't expect to see him. I love that stuff.
Yeah. Well, and I will say this. It'll be interesting to see the dynamic of Ming-Na Wen's character, Finnick Shand. See her back in live action because we got a little bit of her in Bad Batch. I think it was like 2 episodes of. Well, I watched it, but I just didn't review it. I pretty much just blocked that show out of my memory
Good.
because it was
So did I.
it just was not good. As
I'm
much as
glad
I
to hear
love
it.
Star Wars, Bad Batch was just boring.
Yeah, I agree.
So, but yeah, Lewis Cox, oh man, the Book of Boba Fett is going to be kick ass, just like the Mandalorian is. Yeah, to kind of segue to the topic of the night. I mean, we've talked about Visions. We can always come back to Visions at any point. I think there's very much been post the now that we've gotten a few years away from the sequel trilogy, there has been a lot of good stuff that has come out for the Star Wars universe, and especially for the fandom. And I say this as a longtime fan. I mean, I suffered through the dark times when there weren't any movies or anything else. And we finally got the expanded universe with the kicked off with the original Thrawn trilogy by Timothy Zahn. And it was a springboard from there. We got books upon books upon books. We got comics from Dark Horse and from Marvel and every place else across the board. And looking at what Disney. Okay, I see a few minutes, Zach. Looking at what Lucasfilm has been doing now over the last couple of years, I think they're trying to do right by the fans. And hi, I'm a fan. I didn't like what you did before, but you're doing right now. And I will say this with no hyperbole, they have been doing very well. Their batting average has gotten better. Has everything been absolutely stellar out of this world? No. But with the 2 seasons of The Mandalorian that we've got, and I will say this, I just sat down, I rewatched both seasons back to back. And it tells a very beautiful, a very powerful, and a very cool story and a really cool journey for the character of the Mandalorian, Din Djarin, of course, our little green buddy Grogu, and it really expanded the universe. It gave us an idea of what was going on post Return of the Jedi. And yes, I know I am very well aware that it is trying to tie into the sequel trilogy. That's fine. That is their prerogative to do so. And I will not say one word yay or nay about this, but I will make this remark. As far as I am concerned, the saga ended in 1983 or in 2003, if you prefer, with Revenge of the Sith. Anything they do now for me is new expanded universe. It's Disney's expanded universe. It's the DEU. And I'm okay with that.
So I think, as they say, it's the cherry on top, right? We already got our ice cream sundae. Is
Mm-hmm.
that what you're saying? Disney is just the cherry on top, right?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, they're expanding the universe outwards, and like I said, they're trying to fill in the gaps that from the shoddy writing that was done for the sequel trilogy and the breakneck pace that Bob Iger wanted to impose upon Lucasfilm. I mean, let's be honest here. I think in some respects, and I have heard some other people say this, and I cannot say I necessarily disagree with this take. I think Iger, his eyes were bigger than his stomach in terms of what he could do with Star Wars and how much money he could make.
Mm-hmm.
I think they should have eased off the gas significantly. And
Yeah.
if they had, I think we would have gotten a much better crafted sequel trilogy.
Well, okay, you and I agree on that, Ambassador.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that as somebody who has some experience
Mm-hmm.
in the film industry, and I'm by no means, I'm not an expert. I've had
Right.
some experience.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, in my opinion, they had plenty of time to craft a sequel trilogy. They just didn't do the work. They had plenty of time, and I'm sure you agree with me. There's stuff I like in the sequel trilogy. I've seen all three films more than once. I've seen
Mm-hmm.
them all more than once. Some of the Rise of Skywalker I've probably seen 3 or 4 times. Just because
Yeah, but
I like Palpatine. I like seeing Ian McDermott. I like Palpatine. There's certain elements within all three stories that I can get into. Seeing Luke and Leia as Force ghosts standing together, just maybe I don't like the
Well, that's certainly different.
Yep,
I don't mean that in a
there is
bad
the
way.
trailer. There is the trailer for Sushi Girl. I guess you would call it kind of a grindhouse film. One of
Yeah,
my
I would
one of
definitely.
my
Yeah.
favorite Hamill performances, man. The character of Crow. You
Hmm.
can see him in there. He's a creepy character.
Yeah, he
Uh,
looks kind of out there. Yeah, totally. I would wholeheartedly agree with you. That is wasn't that Sonny Chiba in there too?
this you mean the chef from what is it? Kill Bill, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that is him. Yes, it is.
I
Yeah,
thought so. I thought so. Yeah.
yep.
Well, I know it's not
Danny
necessarily.
Trejo,
Yeah, I
great
meant.
cast.
Yeah,
Noah
I know.
Hathaway.
Mm-hmm. So definitely, if you're a Mark Hamill fan, if you want to check out something a little bit different than him playing Luke Skywalker for the millionth time, go check it out.
It's good, man. It's a fun movie. I mean, Mark Hamill is
It
torturing
looks
motherfuckers. He's hammering nails into people. It's crazy.
okay. Yeah, that's definitely out there. All right, what's this other thing you sent me? Hang on.
And Tony Todd was bad. That's the same clip. Same clip.
Oh, okay. Is it all right? Yeah,
But
I okay.
Tony Todd is badass in the film too. That's could be my favorite Tony Todd part as a vicious gangster. And you hear his voice, "Give up those diamonds." Just
Oh,
awesome. Yeah, just
yeah. As I said, if they were going to want to pick somebody to kind of replace or succeed James Earl Jones as the voice of Vader, I think Tony Todd could do it. I mean, he's not exactly a spring chicken himself, but just a little bit he's somewhat younger than James Earl, and you know, one of the things I did in my story, I guess might as well just talk about it. What the hell? I've got it on my mind. I've been able to incorporate the Force Ghosts into my story in a meaningful way. And they aren't just passive observers. There's one particular part of my story where they're in the middle of a battle, and Anakin is acting as the Force Ghost of Anakin is actually is operating as a forward observer, and they have another Force user there in the battle. I don't want to say who because I don't want to spoil anything. And I thought to myself, why did they consider doing this before? If you've got Force wielders that can communicate with Force ghosts, why not use the Force ghosts to just do more than give advice? They can get into places that other people can't, and they can't be seen by anybody except for another Force wielder. So unless you've got a other Jedi
is
or a
that true?
Sith,
They can't be seen by anybody but another Force user. I didn't know that.
yes, yeah, mm-hmm.
Wow. I did
Yeah,
not know that.
Yeah, the Force ghosts cannot be seen by anyone but other persons that are connected to the Force themselves. That's why Luke is the only one who can talk to Ben or Yoda. Now, in my story, Leia can, because Leia did go through full training. She did still remain as a leader of the New Republic military and also as a in a political role as well. But she did go through full training, and her and Anakin have a few interesting conversations with one another. She doesn't really talk to Ben or Yoda, or well, Obi-Wan and Yoda. Let me put it that way. And however, she does once. Well, I don't want to spoil that either, so I'm just going to be quiet. But she does have conversations with Obi-Wan and Yoda as well. But they're just not as frequent as hers with Anakin. I wanted to play with the Force Ghosts a little bit more than has been done in the past because they're just interesting characters in and of themselves. I mean, Force Ghost Anakin, he has his serious side, but he also still has his somewhat jovial side from when he was younger. which we see both in the movies a little bit and mainly in the Clone Wars animated series. And that for me was very vital because there is humor in my story, but it's more in keeping with how the universe is structured. Just for example, there's a exchange of dialogue between Leia and Finn and Anakin. And when Finn refers to Leia as General Skywalker, both her and Anakin react to that. And they're like, "Yes." And Finn's like, "Oh, that's right. You were a general too." Just a long time before your daughter was. So, let's see. Yeah, sure. 1 second, Zach.
Before it gets away from us, the sushi girl topic. Last thing we're gonna do on it. I wanted everybody to see Mark as Crow. Little clip, small clip, 40 seconds. So.
Oh, wait a minute, hang on. I forgot to do one thing. I gotta reshare it. I forgot to hit the audio thing.
I mean, we could talk about Revan if you wanted to in a little bit here. It hasn't been announced. It hasn't been announced publicly, but I don't think it would be a problem.
Okay, hang on. I got 1 second. Okay, there it is. That's okay. All right, hang on. All right, here we go. Yeah, if you want to talk about that, we most certainly can. I just don't want to get you in trouble. That's the main thing for me or myself.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay, hang on. All right, here we go. All right, 1 second. Let me turn the sound back on here.
And let me just say this real quick: is
sure
a movie with Mark Hamill, Tony Todd, Danny Trejo, Noah Hathaway, and who's the guy from Kill Bill? What's his name?
Sonny Chiba.
Yep. A cast like that in a film like this, for me, that's a win. Mm-hmm. Okay. A film with these guys is a total win for me.
I can't say I disagree. All right. Let's check this out.
How about a little lesson in how to use chopsticks, man? So how about it, fishy boy? Got anything to say? Not to you. That's too bad.
Okay, I can just say it. Mark Hamill with glasses and long blonde hair is just instantaneously creepy.
Yep.
Just instantaneously creepy as hell.
His character chews gum throughout the entire film as well.
Oh, man. Okay, that just adds to the creep factor. Okay.
What the are you going to do with those, man?
Acupuncture.
Oh, boy. Oh, that little twitch right there. Did you see? I'm sure you saw that little twitch that he did just before. Oh, creepy. Oh man, I'm definitely gonna have to check this out.
Good, yeah. So, I wish more people have heard of it. You know, I have it on DVD. It was hard as hell to find. Hard as hell. It was like searching for a what do you call it? A needle in a haystack.
I can imagine. I mean, I've been trying to. There have been some movies I've been trying. I by sheer dumb luck, just a few weeks ago, finally found copies of Clerks, Chasing Amy, Clerks 2, and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. There's only one movie out of that group I'm missing, and that is Dogma.
Yeah, Kevin Smith is a weird one. He is a bizarre guy, man, in terms of his career.
Yeah, but I will say this. He's done some good films.
Yeah, I like most of the Jay and Silent Bob movies. Mark Hamill was in one of those too, wasn't he? What was he called?
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back.
Yeah, what was his character? I
Cock
can't remember.
knocker.
Is that his name?
Yep.
That
His
is
character's name
hilarious.
is Cock Knocker, and he has a giant foam hand. And
That's funny.
if you can catch it, he actually does just a little bit of the Joker laugh.
He sounds like the Joker in everything he does, man. Just about nowadays.
Except for Star Wars, but he ain't doing that anymore.
Do you remember seeing him in Kingsman? The first Kingsman, he played the professor.
Actually, I've never seen the Kingsman.
The first one is totally worth your time, without a shadow of a doubt. Great film. Second one, not so much. Definitely watch the first one.
Okay. I did want to ask you, because I recently watched this myself. Did you watch the gallery episode they did when they talked about how they created young Luke for the season 2 finale of Mandalorian?
Yes, I did. Yes.
What did you think of all that?
Well, it was awesome seeing Mark on the fucking set in that outfit.
Oh my gosh.
You know, it was good seeing him. The problem with Mark is I love the guy. Okay. And I think I've made that clear throughout this episode of your podcast. I love the guy. Tremendous guy. He looks weird, man. As an older dude, he's got a weird look. In certain, you got to frame him properly, give him the right angles and stuff.
Well,
there were certain shots where I was like, God damn. But aside from that, I love seeing Mark on the set. I love seeing him holding Grogu, and I'm really happy they released that stuff. And even Mark's interview in that episode was just really, really heartwarming. And
well, and I think for him too, it was a bit of redemption, considering what happened with The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. I think it was a bit of redemption for him. I think this was his way of saying goodbye, quote unquote, to the character. And I think I still pull it up periodically, the stream where I did a live reaction to the season 2 finale of Mandalorian, and I'll forward to that part where Red 5 or Rogue One comes on screen, and you're like, the missus showed me a meme. I think it was the missus that showed me this meme, and it's a picture. It's 2 shots. It's of him standing in the doorway there on the Imperial cruiser in season 2 of The Mandalorian, and you just see the silhouette with the lightsaber extended. And the other one is of him with that very bitter and sour look on his face when he's chugging down that whatever it was from that creature. And it simply says, "The Luke Skywalker we got. The Luke Skywalker we wanted. We deserved. Thank you, honey." And, I know some people, like I said, love The Last Jedi. That's a prerogative. I'm not going to hold against them for doing it. But there are very few characters in fiction that I will say are my hero. Luke Skywalker is my hero. And I think, here I am, 43 years old, and his journey through those 3 movies and all of the expanded universe material that we get, or that we had gotten over the years, just goes to show that people are going to be attracted to a character that has a great story and a great journey. And I honestly, for me, Mark Hamill's portrayal as Luke Skywalker cemented Luke Skywalker as one of my heroes. So I know you brought up talking about. No, Zach, yeah. Yeah, and yeah, that was partially due to the accident he had in between the filmings of A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, is because
Right.
of his
Right.
face got disfigured. So yeah, he doesn't. No, I didn't take that as you making fun of of his appearance or anything.
No, I
But
love the guy. I love seeing him pop up in anything. You know, even
mhm,
Sushi Girl, which is a decent film, but
mhm,
one I probably would not have seen if it was not for Mark. Right?
mhm,
Listen, if Mark pops up in a film, I'm automatically interested in that film. Does that mean I'll see it? Not every time, but 50% of the time, I'll check it out. Like another good
mhm,
example, Ambassador, a film you should watch
mhm.
is a film called Brigsby Bear. Have you heard of this?
I have never even heard of it.
That is another recent Mark Hamill film. Due to The Force Awakens, he's been popping up in more
Mhm.
films, which I am more than happy to see that happen.
Same here. Same here. Same here. Well, I didn't know how much of it you wanted to discuss, but if you want to talk about our little project, we can. Or anything. Just like I said, I don't want to get either one of us in trouble. So
Yeah, I think we can give a little bit of a tease in
okay,
terms of the project. I think we could totally do that.
okay. I'll let you
Well,
lead, and
first of all, though,
mhm.
I was wondering if we could react to the Brigsby Bear trailer.
How serious?
Here I am, Mark Hamill's hype man. You know, it doesn't bother me. I'm happy to do it.
Okay. Just send me the link, and we'll check it
Okay.
out.
A cool film, man. This is another, I would say, probably better than Sushi Girl. Really high quality film. So hopefully people will watch this. I'm not sure where it's available, but if you know where to look, you can find it.
Okay. Hang on 1 second here. Okay, hang on. Okay. 2 minutes, 12 seconds. All right.
You did it, Brigsby! Remember, oh, just wrap it with decaying organic material. Goodbye!
There are other people out there, just like us, right?
Look at the grazer bugs, James. They're out there every night. The difference is we have dreams and imaginations to help us escape. And no one can take that away from you. Ever.
There's something I need to tell you.
Everything's very big. It's really very big.
The reason you're here, the reason I'm here is all just to help you.
Everyone says they're trying to help me, but nobody can find me the new episode of Brigsby.
There wasn't a new episode this week. This is about moving on with the rest of your life.
Try to imagine a hero.
Just be normal, alright?
Hi, I'm James. I really like your clothes.
He's not on the bad side. He's on the good side.
Claire
You,
Danes,
Brigsby Bear, our keeper of the light.
Have you ever been with a girl?
You really want to do this with me? Yeah, man. I mean, there's not a lot of stuff like this out there. You're my friend.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Interesting.
So that big picture of that moon character that looks like a child's cartoon is Mark Hamill. I mean, basically, the film is about Mark Hamill kidnapped this fucking little kid and has made up this fake, what would you say, Sesame Street-esque, world for him. It has all the TV he's watched. Mark Hamill has produced the kidnapper character, right? But a good Mark Hamill part and an even better film.
Interesting. So.
And that's a recent one, I think 2018, something like that. 2017, I think, something like that.
Okay. Yeah. So, well, anyway, kind of segue back onto the main topic of the night, Star Wars. So, like I said, I'll let you lead and I'll kind of follow along and we can discuss the project.
Well, we're, Ambassador, myself, and everybody involved, we're working on a very interesting Star Wars fan film. And sort of the idea behind it is to put together the most comprehensive, in terms of visually, story-wise, and in every way, shape, and form, the most comprehensive fan film ever made. Now, that's setting a high bar, and if we don't reach that bar, that's fine. But that's the goal, right? Is to put together the most comprehensive fan film ever done. And if you ask for the whole loaf, maybe you'll get 75% of it, right? We're not looking to create a fan film that is a lesser product. We're going to try and do as much as we can in every way. Ambassador and I worked on the storyline for this project, and the team of people is amazing. And by the way, this is a Revan fan film that involves Revan, Malak, the Mandalorian Wars. To me, it's a pretty exciting situation.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of new for me. I won't lie to you all. I mean, just like me writing my fan fiction is very new for me as well, because yes, I've got all this knowledge and understanding of the Star Wars universe and of the characters and how everything kind of fits together and functions and the type of story that I want to see. But when Zach reached out to me, he's like, you were like, do you want to do this with me? And I was like, I've never done anything like this before. We sat down for an hour or so, and we've talked off and on over Twitter and online and everything over the last several weeks and months, and last several weeks, trying to hash out the details of this, and me saying, okay, this is not quite in keeping with the lore of Revan, but this does fit. And Revan is a character, as I mentioned before, that we know bits and pieces about. We don't know his full history. We don't know where he originally came from. We don't know what he was like up to a certain point in terms of his growth as a character and his journey and his backstory and so on. We don't even know necessarily his home world within the Star Wars universe. We just know that he was from somewhere, I think, in the Outer Rim. And he essentially, he came from pretty much nothing, but he rose to be this very powerful and very well respected in terms of his character, his morals, his ethics, his integrity as a person. And that's what we appreciate so much about a character like Revan, is that he is a icon of virtue and uprightness and doing the right thing. But we know that at some point he takes a turn in his journey down a path that many would perceive as being very dark, but also very necessary. And I think that's also one of the great themes about the Star Wars universe is Yeah, and Lewis, we can definitely talk about that as well and everything. I'd be more than happy to. I just want to make one further remark on the Revan fan film. I truly hope that when this comes out, the fan base is very accepting of it. And from what I have seen of the Star Wars fan base, which I am a part of myself, fan films are often very warmly received, regardless of the level of budget or what have you, because the fan base knows that not everybody has all the money to pour into a production, but they know that if the intentions are good with those that are making the fan film or the piece of media, whatever it may be, then it will be accepted to one degree or another. So, and I do want to, so Lewis, my thoughts on the Knights of the Old Republic remake.
Well, did you want me to say anything else, or
No,
are we
yeah,
good with
absolutely, yeah, absolutely, and then we can move on from there. Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, we're looking at a baseline, bottom of the barrel budget of 25 grand. We have the resources, we have the people, in terms of our director. Our director's worked on several films in the past, some of which are currently being optioned for different streaming services. This is not your run-of-the-mill fan film. Ambassador and myself did not come up with this by ourselves. I was hired onto a project, and I brought in Ambassador to help me craft a storyline that was lore accurate.
Yes.
So that's really what happened. Is I got hired onto it. I brought in Ambassador, who I had done a few podcasts with, a few at least, right? Maybe 10 or 12.
We've done quite a few. It's been a little bit since we've done anything, but yeah, because you've been busy and I've been busy. So, but yeah.
Well, I knew Ambassador as a guy who knows his stuff, and we really went to bat and took a concept and really did something interesting with it. And what we're doing is, I think the storyline is just phenomenal. The story that we put together, the script and the storyline and everything, just really, something amazing. Dealing with clandestine operations, the dark side of the Force, creepy, dark experiments, and you've got the Mandalorian Wars element. You've got Revan and Malik sort of going off on their own, and man, I just was really happy with the way it turned out. I mean,
as am I.
Can I predict right now if the film is going to be what the goal is, which is the best fan film ever made? It's a tough bar to clear, and you and I would agree on that. That's a tough one.
Oh yes, it is, because there are so many out there that are very well done. I mean, I can name two off the top of the bat. One is actually by a guy that I had the opportunity to interview several months ago. Philip Hawkins, he did a fan film called Star Wars Origins, which is actually it's kind of a mashup of Star Wars and Indiana Jones. And it is a very good fan film. I mean, the story itself, the acting is on point. It's not a visual effects heavy film, but it does have visual effect elements in it, but they were very, very well done. The other one that I would think of that I've watched in the past is Darth Maul Apprentice, which deals with Darth Maul going up against a group of Jedi that discover him on this remote planet. And it is a hell of a fan film. So if we reach the mark of those two films, I would say that everyone involved, I mean, my part is very small. I will be the first to admit it.
If it does well, what do they say? Rising tide raises all boats. It should be a good thing for all of us if it turns out the way we hope it does. Yes. And it'll be great for the fans too, because we've never seen the Revan on the big screen, and this is a film that we really can take all over the place in terms of doing little stunts in different cities and stuff and having premieres. Ambassador, I'm not sure if I told you this, but we're having a virtual premiere, which will be awesome. And that's only for a select group of people to check it out and stuff. But
okay, cool.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. And you nailed it. and I think I did I did my best for sure, and I think we got something pretty special. So we'll see what happens.
I'm inclined to agree. But to get to Lewis Cox's comment, which actually does tie into what we were just discussing, the remake for Knights of the Old Republic game, the first one, I actually got, I can be an emotional person. I say that with no shame whatsoever. I, for one, was very excited when Man Ambassador showed me the teaser trailer for Knights of the Knights of the Republic remake. Granted, we don't get a whole lot of footage for the game. We just get a few little snippets here or there. We see the updated model of Revan. And honestly, okay, and that's fine, Zach. We may wrap up here shortly anyhow, so that's fine. I honestly, I got legit choked up because I remember playing the original Knights of the Old Republic game so many times, and either I went light side or I went dark side. It did not matter. Yeah, Lewis, you'll find that interview under my Star Wars videos playlist, I believe. Actually, you know what? Give me a minute. I'll just see if I can't pull it up here. Like I said, I did an interview with the guy. His name is Phil Hawkins. I actually follow him on Instagram. He is actually an active director. He does a lot of smaller budget stuff, but his stuff is by and large good. Hang on. It's going to take me a minute to get to, but had a really nice conversation with him and everything a while back. Let's see, playlists. Actually, you know what? That probably will work. Okay, hang on. Come on, where are you? All right, hold on. Here we go. Maybe it's here. I can't remember.
Well, I'll give some brief thoughts while you're doing that.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
The new game. I am hoping that they totally overhaul the mechanics of the game. As good as the storyline is, I hope they keep the storyline and yet overhaul the mechanics and do something. I mean, imagine Knights of the Old Republic in a playstyle similar to the Jedi Fallen Order game. That's really what I'm hoping for, is something that is not a click on enemy and hit a button. I would rather be more personally involved in the combat mechanics, and
I would imagine they will probably revamp the combat mechanics and everything, considering they will have the technology now to do it. So I don't think that's going to necessarily be, that's even going to be remotely an issue. So
good. I hope so.
There it is. Okay. All right. Hang on 1 second. I found it. All right. It's not going to let me do it that way. All right. Oh, for Pete's sakes. Come on. Work with me here. All right, here we go. Share. Sometimes this can be a real pain in the neck. Here we go. Copy and paste. All right. Yeah.
It's like even the Batman games. I like the storyline. I just hate the combat mechanics. I could never get into them. Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, Arkham Knight. They're very appealing, but the fight mechanics to me are not my cup of tea.
I can understand that. I mean, personally, for myself, I'm used to playing all sorts of video games like this, so it doesn't a big issue for me. But I know everybody's wired a little bit differently when it comes to how you game. But I for one, honestly, and I don't particularly give two hoots in hell who writes the story, just as long as the story is good. Unlike some other channels out there, I'm not going to pitch a conniption fit because a woman who has a particular political leaning is working on the story. And she's not even the lead story writer. She's just part of the bloody team.
Here's what that is people on YouTube trying to make entertainment political. And yet they say the opposite. They say, no, I'm against politics and entertainment mixing. No, you're not. You're totally doing what you're accusing other people of. You're just doing the opposite opinion.
Yeah, essentially. Remind me later. I've got a couple of memes I think you'll appreciate. I'll send them to you. I'll send them to you on Twitter. But I will say this. I did hear about the announcement that EA is no longer going to be the exclusive studio that's going to be making Star Wars games going forward. I will say that there were some games that EA did that I really enjoyed in the Star Wars universe. Like you mentioned, Jedi Fallen Order, Squadrons. I thought was a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it. I did enjoy Battlefront 2, the campaign and the online player aspect of the thing. Although I've died probably 1,000 times over, but
So I'm a badass in that game, by the way.
Oh, in Battlefront 2?
Oh my God, I'm one of the best players out there.
You probably killed me a few times. You probably just didn't know it.
Are you on the Xbox?
PS4.
Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty good. I am pretty good.
I imagine you're brutal just like me.
Definitely.
Yeah. Lewis Cox. EA should have done a new Pod Racer game, but oh well. Well, Lewis, maybe we will get a new Pod Racer game down the road. I'd be all for it. Of course, I'm still waiting for Hasbro to give me the Black Series Cobb Vanth with his modified speeder from season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Well, there's another example of a character actor appearing in something. It's like, shit, it's Tim. What's his name?
Timothy Oliphant.
Yeah, it's like, oh shit, I know this guy, right? It's always a pleasure to see somebody like that pop up.
I've not seen him in a whole lot. I know I've heard a lot of good things about his role in Justified.
Yes.
I know him primarily from from his appearance as Cobb Vanth. And honestly, I was a little bit surprised that they didn't bring him in for the season 2 finale. But at the same time, I'm kind of glad they didn't, because I want to see if they. The response to his character was so positive, and like I said, I want that Black Series figure in the vehicle. I want that. I want that speeder. That was a badass looking speeder.
You know who I was looking at? I was looking at I think it's Sideshow Collectibles did a Count Dooku that looks just like it was taken right out of the screen.
Doesn't surprise me. Their stuff is very good, but it's pricey.
It's expensive as hell. It is. Yeah, it's like $300 per figure.
That doesn't surprise me. Well, I got very, very lucky recently. Well, actually, this was just this past weekend. Because I didn't go live this past week. I actually went with a buddy of mine for my birthday, belated birthday. And there's this vintage toy store in my hometown, and I was lucky enough to find a Star Wars Power of the Force. It's from the Expanded Universe collection, Grand Admiral Thrawn, from how he looked in the Heir to the Empire graphic novel that Dark Horse did back in the I think like the late 90s. And I was like very, very fortunate, because those are next to impossible to find.
Nice.
Then I found another one at that same vintage toy store a few weeks before that.
How much did it take you for?
The figure?
Yeah.
After doing some trading with the guy who owns the place, because we've done business with him previously, and he'll do store credit for trade-in on like games or other toys or whatever, I paid $5.30.
Wow. A pretty good deal.
But his the full price was $30. But with all the trade,
that's not bad. No, that's not bad. I was looking at here's what I was looking at recently is the Batman animated series figures, which are unbelievably expensive. To get one figure is about $300.
That does not surprise me. does not surprise me in the slightest, because there's been ever since they put Batman the Animated Series on HBO Max, there has been a massive resurgence in popularity for the series. You would be amazed what affects value for certain things. I mean, Madam Ambassador has the entire run of Funko Pops for Once Upon a Time. And the whole collection, I think she said, would, if we were ever to sell it, could go upwards of maybe $200 or $300, maybe more.
Pretty good.
Yeah. She actually also got the Funkos for WandaVision, for Vision and Scarlet Witch both. I should say White Vision. I recently picked up 3 of the what if Funkos. I got Captain Carter, the Hydra Stomper, and Sorcerer Supreme Strange from What If, and I'm very happy
what?
because
You know what would be fun would be to do a collection podcast on your show, and I can already think of one guy who would be perfect to have on that as well. Would be Grandpa Geek, who has
I know Grandpa Geek.
Numerous amount of toys and figures.
Well, there's another guy and everything, and I think you may not have met him, but you've probably heard of him. He has a massive. Who?
You know that guy, Junkman, Star Wars Junkman.
No? Can't say I've heard of him. No, I've actually talked with him several times. I've been on his channel. He's been on here. Enosh Fee from Poindexter Lounge. His collection is massive.
No, I don't know him.
And that's okay. No worries. I've actually considered doing something like that and everything on a few occasions. I might set that up in a few months and everything. Because I'm getting ready to. Next month I'm going to be doing a lot of stuff centered around Halloween and the supernatural and stuff like that, because it's October. It's normal, and I actually enjoy talking about that sort of stuff. I did it last year, had a great time. I'll be doing the same thing this year. But I know you got to go, and I'm probably going to wrap up here. So, Zach, I'm going to let you have any final thoughts, and then we'll call it a night.
On what? Star Wars Visions or anything?
Visions, any of the other stuff we've discussed tonight in terms of Star Wars. So, floor is yours.
I'll bring it back around to Star Wars Visions.
That's fine.
For me, it's a mixed bag. I would rather have it than not have it. You've got a lot of fun episodes and a lot of ones that for me don't really, match up. Mm-hmm. But I would say I'd give it, if I was to give 8 out of 10, maybe a 6.8, which is not bad. That's not bad. I mean,
that's fair. Yeah.
I would say a majority, over 50% of the episodes for me were enjoyable. I like it a lot better than Bad Batch. So that's a positive thing.
Yes.
It's innovative, which I like. It's something we've never really seen before, so I can get behind that. Overall, pretty positive, but definitely some things that don't really, gel with my understanding, and some episodes that were really, not that great. But overall, pretty positive, reception.
Yeah. I get you. Well, and I kind of feel the same way myself. My rating's a little bit higher than yours. I'd probably give it an 8.5 out of 10. Because while some of the animation may not have really gelled with me all that much, the stories that were told in the majority of the episodes really resonated with me, and that for me was the big thing. I mean, yes, I love the animation style. The execution is what, as you mentioned, was what kind of threw me off. But I'm not saying they're going, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this. I'm just going, this isn't necessarily my thing. I may skip this one and I'll just watch the others I really got into and really enjoyed. So, but Zach, thanks for coming on tonight, man. Appreciate you having on. It's you being here. It's been a while, and I'm glad you decided to join me. So
yeah, my pleasure.
Anyway, do want to let you all know I'll be back next week, Thursday afternoon, with the Council of Ones. We will be continuing our review of Babylon 5 Season 4. We're doing Thursday again this week because I've got a doctor's appointment I've got to go to Friday, so I don't want to not do our stream. So we talked it over, and we'll be doing our review on Thursday at 3:30 Central Time. But the week after, we'll be back on our normal day at our normal time. And then I am going to be doing a couple of interesting streams next week. Besides that, let's see, the 30th is on a Thursday, if I remember correctly. Next Thursday, going to be doing something a little more outside of my norm. And yes, it is a bit of a troll for a certain group of haters out there, but it also is because it sounded like fun to me. I'm going to be doing a ambassadorial appreciation stream for Brie Larson. Yes, I am. I am doing it. This is not a joke. This is not a troll. Well, it is a troll, but not of my fans and my supporters.
Who are you doing next? Amber Heard?
No. No. I won't touch her. No. I won't touch her at all. But then next Saturday, I will be back with another ambassadorial retro review, and we will be doing a review of the one of my all-time favorite animes, and that is, of course, Akira. So, and that will be, I think, either at 7 or 7:30 Central Time. So, that all being said, folks, thank you for tuning in tonight. For those of you that catch us on the replay, leave your comments down below with anything that we discussed this evening. And we will see you next week. And until next time, these are the ambassadors, signing off.